Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to Ignition Time. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber yet, please consider clicking the subscribe button and enable notifications so you can get instant updates from us going forward, because I'm trying to keep all my viewers and subscribers on the cutting edge of all information related to politics, related to stimulus, related to unemployment benefits, and related to your personal finances and the state of our country. So let's just jump right in. This is where things stand right now. US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi are expected to work through the weekend to come together on a stimulus deal. This was reported by Politico, so they are actually working through the weekend while our president is in the hospital at Walter Reed. Now let's be clear, the two sides are still apart as far as the state and local funding is concerned. The number one area of contention right now is that House Speaker Pelosi wants more aid for state and local. With the original version of the HEROES Act, the Democrats had wanted $900 billion for state and local funding. With the updated version of the HEROES Act, the Democrats have come to $436 billion. The Republicans were originally at $100 billion. They did go up to $250 billion in the $1.62 trillion proposal that I first reported on YouTube several days ago. And the Democrats want, the Republicans want the administration to come closer. In fact, US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin specifically has started talking to Republican lawmakers to get them to agree to a bill that could be potentially close to $2 trillion. Now, here are some more updates. On Thursday, so that's 48 hours ago, and this has not been previously unreported until now. On Thursday, the US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had a call with Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, and what they discussed was state and local funding. It was interesting that they would actually talk to the Federal Reserve Chairman about this. This shows how eager both sides are to make a deal. So they spoke about state and local funding and lending to local municipalities. And that call again has not yet been reported, and this again goes to show how hard the two sides are working in order to come to a deal. So this is where things stand right now. Now, one thing I want to point out is, and you probably noticed this in my reporting over the past 2 days, but one of the things in Steven Mnuchin's proposal to House Speaker Pelosi is that the administration will be okay with what is known as an ITIN number or a tax ID number instead of a social security number when it comes to handing out stimulus checks. Now, this is probably going to be a no-go as far as Republicans are concerned, and here's why. Republican sources are worried that Steven Mnuchin will relent. I use the word relent because this is actually what's being reported, and I'll provide you with the link to all our sources in the description section below. So make sure to check out all our sources for yourself. That Steven Mnuchin will relent on using the tax ID number instead of the social security number to deliver stimulus checks to Americans. And this is a very hot button topic as far as Republicans are concerned, because they say that it allows undocumented immigrants to get stimulus checks. And so this wasn't allowed under the CARES Act, and this is definitely going to be a hot button issue, potentially a deal breaker. So somebody is going to have to give as far as this issue is concerned, and this is going to be a non-starter in the Republican-controlled Senate. And sources directly involved in the talks do say that this hasn't been discussed in any detail yet, but this gives you a good idea of what the Republicans are actually worried about as far as a potential deal is concerned. Also, and this was just reported, the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, just tweeted out in the past hour. He said, I quote the President of the United States, "Our great USA wants and needs stimulus. We work together and get it done." So the President said, our great USA wants and needs stimulus, work together and get it done, thank you. So essentially the big question right now is whether House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin can come to a consensus on a $1.8 trillion stimulus package that essentially President Trump is seeming to get behind. This was reported by Jeff Stein at the Washington Post. So the big question right now is, let's say, by the way, it's very clear that Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Pelosi are coming closer and closer to a deal, while the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is spending time with the President at Walter Reed. In fact, if you saw my coverage of the press conference with the president's doctors. And if you watch the video in the link in the description section, you'll see that the White House Chief of Staff is at Walter Reed with the president. In the meanwhile, Steven Mnuchin is working with House Speaker Pelosi to come to a consensus on the stimulus deal. And if they come to a $1.8 trillion consensus, and it does look that that is very likely. And by the way, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has indicated that whatever the administration comes up with, he would make sure that there was enough support. The big question is, the higher this price tag goes, the closer it gets to $2 trillion, the harder it will be to get enough Republicans on board. But at that point in time, I think Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will have little if no choice, because if the administration strikes a deal, the Democrats strike a deal, and then if the Republicans stand in the way, then I think that they would probably be endangering their control of the Senate, assuming that's not in danger already, because out of all the out of what's happening in November is that the presidential election is up. There are 35 Senate seats and there are 435 House seats. So, and out of the 35 Senate seats that are up for re-election in November, 23 out of the 35 are Republican senators up for re-election. So, and then on top of all that, we have many Republican senators actually being diagnosed positive with COVID. So, it creates quite a situation. It creates a question as to how the vote will happen, and I'll dig deeper into that in future videos. Right now, I'm giving you the status of the negotiations and the high-level trends. And the high-level trends are that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin, U.S. Secretary Steven Mnuchin, are getting closer and closer to a deal. Number two, the president just now on Twitter said, again I quote, "Our great USA wants and needs stimulus. Work together and get it done." This is a clear signal from the President of the United States. Get it done. It doesn't really get any clearer than that. Now, I do want to report one more thing that is extremely interesting, and this also was reported by Jeff Stein of the Washington Post. And this is quite unusual, but again, this was reported that the original plan for the Republicans, this was back in March, not now, the original plan for the Republicans was to try and phase in stimulus checks. And right now, I think because of all the pressure that is existing on Republican lawmakers, there is a very, very high probability that stimulus checks will indeed happen, because both sides want it. And more than 150 million Americans will indeed get stimulus checks. And so I think the pressure is increasing on lawmakers to approve stimulus checks, to approve a massive bill, and we seem to be getting closer and closer in that direction. I will keep you posted. I think, and these are words from House Speaker Pelosi, these aren't my words, that what happened with the president, the fact that the president contracted the illness, changes the dynamic of the conversation, and you can see that there's a flurry of activity. And you heard it here first on this channel about this deal being imminent. I'm simply now reporting to you on the back and forth, the mechanics of the negotiation, because you see, what happens in Washington DC is you go 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back, 5 steps forward, 2 steps back. That is how things work. There's sort of a back and forth, a yin and yang, if you will, in a negotiation before both sides come to a consensus. And what is clear right now is that House Speaker Pelosi is pushing for language that sort of meets her high threshold, and the Republicans, who by the way, just to be clear, started at 1 trillion and didn't want to go anywhere north of a trillion, came to 1.5 trillion, then 1.62 trillion. Now we are talking 1.8 trillion, which is exactly what the president has started to push for. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of mechanism to get very close to what the Democrats want. And so hopefully we have a bill that contains the best ideas from both sides, because that is the idea. And the president is now pushing, and again, let me repeat, this is significant. The president of the United States said that, our great USA wants and needs stimulus. Work together and get it done. It doesn't get any clearer than that. That's where things stand, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. Please also like the video if you learned something new. Also check out the other playlists on our channel. There's the Financial Freedom playlist where you can get a lot of information on how to make money, save money, invest money. I'll be releasing a video in the next 24 hours where I talk to you about life after stimulus. I know all of us are waiting for the stimulus money. I get that. I respect that. But My goal with this channel, I have much higher aspirations for my viewers and subscribers. I want you to learn how to make money, how to save money, and how to invest money. And I want to get you there, because that is the journey that I was able to, that is what I was able to do myself, and those were the obstacles I was able to overcome myself. I have a rags to riches story. Check out my video. I have the fortune, the honor, the privilege of living the American dream. Once again, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.